Have you ever heard a strange noise in the middle of the night? Felt a cold draft in a room that should be warm? Or maybe even had an object mysteriously move from one place to another? If you have, you might have brushed it off as your imagination, or the creaks and groans of an old house. But what if I told you that these experiences could be linked to something called a poltergeist? Today, we're diving deep into the world of poltergeists, those mischievous, unseen forces that have fascinated and terrified people for centuries. Are they just figments of our imagination, or is there something more to these paranormal phenomena? Let's explore both the supernatural and scientific explanations behind poltergeist activity. First off, let's look at what a poltergeist actually is. The term comes from the German words poltern, which means to make noise, and Geist, meaning spirit. So, essentially, a poltergeist is a noisy spirit. Unlike ghosts, which are often thought to be the souls of the deceased, poltergeists are usually associated with physical disturbances, things like objects being thrown, doors slamming shut, or even strange sounds echoing through the night. Some people describe them as pranksters, while others see them as manifestations of something more sinister. Now, the supernatural explanation for poltergeist activity often revolves around the idea that these entities are indeed spirits or energies that have not moved on to the afterlife. Some believe that poltergeists are the restless souls of people who died tragically or violently, unable to find peace. Others suggest that they are manifestations of negative energy or emotions, often linked to people in the household, particularly adolescents going through emotional turmoil. This idea is fascinating because it suggests that our emotions can somehow create or attract these disturbances. Imagine a teenager dealing with the ups and downs of life, and suddenly their anger or frustration manifests in objects flying off shelves. It's almost poetic in a way, isn't it? But let's not get too carried away with the supernatural just yet. There's a whole other side to the poltergeist phenomenon that leans heavily into the realm of science. Many researchers and skeptics argue that what we perceive as poltergeist activity can often be explained through more rational means. For example, some suggest that the noises and disturbances attributed to poltergeists could be the result of natural environmental factors, like drafts, settling houses, or even the creaking of floorboards. There's also the psychological aspect to consider. The power of suggestion can be incredibly strong. If someone believes their house is haunted, they might start to interpret normal sounds in a supernatural context. This phenomenon is known as pareidolia, where our brains are wired to recognize patterns, even when there aren't any. It's why we see faces in clouds or hear voices in static. In a similar vein, when we're in a heightened emotional state, like fear or anxiety, we might misinterpret everyday occurrences as something paranormal. And here's where it gets really interesting. Some researchers have linked poltergeist activity to infrasound, which is sound that's below the range of human hearing. Infrasound can cause feelings of unease, anxiety, and even hallucinations. So, if a house is situated near a source of infrasound, like heavy machinery or natural phenomena, it could potentially create an environment where people feel they're experiencing poltergeist activity. But what about the classic stories? You know, the ones where objects are thrown across the room or where people report being touched by an unseen force. These cases can be a bit trickier to explain. Some experts propose that these incidents are the result of collective psychological phenomena, where the belief in a poltergeist can influence the behavior of everyone in the household. In some documented cases, entire families have reported similar experiences, leading researchers to believe that the power of suggestion and group dynamics play a significant role in these events. So, where does that leave us? Are poltergeists merely the product of our imaginations, or do they represent something more? The truth is, we may never fully understand the phenomenon. The blend of psychological, environmental, and perhaps even supernatural elements makes it a deeply complex topic. For every story of a poltergeist wreaking havoc in a home, there's a scientist ready to debunk it with a logical explanation. But isn't that what makes the topic so engaging? The dance between belief and skepticism, the way we navigate our understanding of the world around us. It's like a modern-day mystery, and each of us gets to decide how we interpret the signs. Maybe you're a staunch skeptic, convinced that everything can be explained through science. Or perhaps you lean more toward the mystical, believing that there are forces at play that we simply can't understand yet. At the end of the day, whether you believe in poltergeists or not, the stories and experiences surrounding them tap into something fundamental about the human experience: our desire to understand the unknown. We all want to make sense of the world around us, to find meaning in the inexplicable, and to connect with something greater than ourselves. So, the next time you hear a strange noise or see something move out of the corner of your eye, take a moment to reflect. Is it just your imagination? Or is there something more? Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, the mystery of poltergeists invites us to explore the depths of our own understanding, challenging us to question what we know and to remain open to the wonders of the unknown. And who knows, maybe one day, science will catch up with the supernatural, and we'll finally unravel the mystery of those noisy spirits once and for all.